Hey everyone, and welcome to another podcast, but this podcast is going to be a little different. So instead of our regular top 5 and speculation / rumor discussion, we will be doing a Saturday video for the next 8 weeks, the two of us specifically, because we're the two most knowledgeable Star Wars fans that work here in this comic shop. So we're going to do a deep dive every week for, the next 7 weeks, except this one. And we're just going to pretty much pick out little things that we like, talk about it, maybe speculate on future episodes, maybe speculate, this, that, and the other, but whatever. Anything's kind of free game. So, and overall at the end, we're going to give a total review on, a score 1 through 10 this time, using half and whole points on how we felt about the episode. So with that, all of that being said, let's just jump right into the first thing that you'd like to talk about. Give me your first kind of bullet point or sequence that you want to discuss.
Well, my first thing was, I really like that intro scene when you first get out of the recap, and you get to see that scene from the trailer is like walking in. It's kind of a dingy cityscape. I don't know the name of the planet, and I don't think you said they haven't released it yet. But it was like they were going to see Gor Koresh, and I love the way that Mando kind of interrogated him during that scene. It's like Gor Koresh was being, hella scummy, and trying to get, his Beskar armor, and Mando had to leave him for dead. He said, "You will not die by my hand," but he let some other things kill him.
I was about to say, he pretty much left him to the wolves. Quite literally.
Literally, it sounds like wolves, but you see the glowing red eyes and shit. That's all you see. That's scary as mess, man. Halloween episode, right?
Yeah, for the most part. And a dragon too. So.
Oh yeah.
All of that. But. Yeah, that's one thing I'm definitely going to advise to people. This is completely, we're going to get into all of it. We're going to talk about everything, and I'm going to make sure attached to this podcast as well as attached to the YouTube video that there's a spoiler warning, because we're talking about everything. You're only watching this if you've watched the episode already.
Why are you doing a review if you ain't watching the episode first?
Exactly.
That's dumber than a sack of hammers.
One thing I brought up, or wanted to bring up, well, 2 things actually that I wanted to bring up about that specific scene with Gor Koresh was that Gor Koresh expands on a Legends thing previously. Well, there was one Abyssin that you see in a brief scene in A New Hope, but it's just one of those monsters that they used from the whole gallery of people in the cantina.
Yeah.
But, Gor Koresh being the first one we've kind of seen in live action have a speaking role and have some sort of significance.
Yeah.
And I thought you'd probably appreciate that, being that for a long time was a Legends thing. You see Abyssins sometimes in the comics, you see them sometimes in the graphic novels they did, and so all in all, I just thought it was kind of cool to see on screen, because it's the Cyclops of the Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah, definitely.
Another thing I wanted to say was, speaking about what Mando said when, or what Gor Koresh asked him, he was like, "Do you gamble, Mando?" And Mando said, "Not when I can avoid it, or not when it's avoidable." I thought that made sense. Yeah, but then later, Mando was hella cocky whenever he ended up saying, what was the exact words he used? Oh, he said, Gor Koresh said, "I thought you didn't gamble, Mando," and he said, "I don't." And then just blasting them with the whistling birds.
Yeah, just messes them all up. That was and that type of character, you see, Mando, in terms of the different Mandalorians we know, is pretty good, I would say, in the rankings,
Oh, yeah.
But he's slowly climbing, he's not one of those characters that stops for a while and then has to have something way down the road bring him back and make him even more popular. He's like slowly climbing. And with all this speculation and all this stuff, that character, as well as Baby Yoda's character, but like, you know, like they just like keep climbing and climbing and climbing to the point where like, yeah, Mando's gonna be type nice when we're old, you know? Like, people are gonna be talking about Mando when we're old. Like, they're gonna be like, Mando's type nice.
Matt, among Star Wars savants, we must say the child and the child only, because only plebs say Baby Yoda.
The child. The child. Who gives a crap? I started calling him Baby Yoda at first.
Him.
It's okay. He is a Baby Yoda, and he is adorable. And I love him with all my heart.
He's also a badass.
Oh, yeah.
Because he force chokes people.
Yeah, but only the hoes that tried to hurt his dad, like, you know.
Yikes, he wasn't trying to hurt him. But anyway.
Gender equality.
So, still with Koresh, because I kind of, now that I'm looking at my notes, you made a comment earlier that you kind of made yours by sequence in the episode. And I was just doing them as they came, but obviously each sequence is being presented. So I'm picking stuff in, you know, quintessential order.
Yeah.
So one thing that I wanted to bring up is I love the whole scene when Koresh is like running away and he hits him like with the whipcord. Just the motion he puts into his arm to shoot it. And all of that, like, I wrote down exactly whipcord cowboy vibes during the beginning. Because I knew it was going to help me remember exactly what I was talking about. But yeah, just from the shot, whenever he hit him like around the legs, also to whenever he threw it up and over the light pole, but then after that, you know, stringing him up and then slinging it, and it just naturally, it was perfect. The whole sequence was just, it all
screamed that he had done it before.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, because not only was that a heavy Western influence thing, which I'll also talk about in another scene later,
yeah,
but I really like it because, like you said, it shows the wear. It shows how long he's been doing this, how long he's been in the game of bounty hunting. Just all of that in general.
How long he's been, like, dealing with, you know, hunting humans.
Right,
know, or, like, sentient species, you know.
Yeah. And I like that. That was just really enjoyable for me. And the last thing that I wrote down about that sequence in particular was, I want to know what creatures ravaged Gor Koresh. Like, what were all those little things? You know, we said they might be wolves, but...
I don't think they would be, like, actually called wolves.
Right.
Because the only thing we've gotten so far in terms of wolf, in new canon at least, is, like, the wolf wolves.
Right.
From Rebels.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, those things look to be a little bit too big to be what we saw there. So, like, you know, it might be some type of... It's definitely, whatever it is dog-inspired. So,
right.
I know it's canine in nature, I just don't know what kind.
Right. It could be more like, since they're on, from what it looked like, just that wide open plain that was behind Mando in the beginning of the episode, before he walked into the little graffiti villa.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of sporting area, was, it looked very flat. Maybe not like Tatooine or like, you know, Arlov 7 or whatever I looked up earlier. Arvala 7.
Yeah, Arvala 7 was
the planet that Khalil lives on.
Yeah, and he found baby the child.
Yeah. So but yeah, like, I want to know what those are, and I can't wait till the press release, like, or, you know, just Wikipedia gets updated, or however I end up coming to find out, word of mouth, whatever. Like, I really like, I mean, you were talking how I'm very detail-oriented earlier, and I want to know, like, the planets, and I want to know the races, and I want to know all of it, like, just get it all.
Every little thing.
Yeah, so I want to know about that, too. Do you have anything more that you want to talk about that beginning scene, or? Well,
not really that much more, just, like, to add on to your point, like, I like... And this is more about the show in general, just Mando in general.
Right.
I like how they do bring in stuff that was, like, previously, like, Legends only. Like, you know, some old, like, stuff from the comics that, like, nobody really knows about, except for like a few people who actually like me sit there for hours just like doing deep dives into lore just because I'm bored. But like,
Right.
you know, and I appreciate that because it gives nods to fans like me, and like, you know, you have some pretty good lore, Legends knowledge too, and like, you know, just the really like what's the word for it? Committed fans, I guess you would
Right,
say.
yeah.
Like, you know, really into it kind
Right.
of
The
fans.
diehard fans.
Yeah, that's the word. That's
Yeah.
the word I was looking for.
I
But
love
yeah.
being a diehard Star Wars fan.
Oh yeah, for real though.
I mean, why do anything half-ass?
Yeah. Send it.
The next thing that I want to talk about is when they went into, or when Din got the information from Gor Koresh about the Mando on Tatooine, went back to Tatooine and went directly to Pelimoto.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that was intentional or not, or just by chance, like we weren't able to find out. But yeah, what I wrote down is I said I appreciate the callback to episode 1 with funny pit droids. I really, really appreciate the pit droids because the pit droids, I think in episode 1, yeah, they repair the pods and they are the pit crew in between the laps, but the race is 3 laps. So like,
You don't really see it.
It's all of maybe 30 minutes. Maybe 30 minutes.
And I mean, then you get the pit droid kind of interaction with Jar Jar in Watto's place, but like,
Right, yeah.
you know, that's just more annoying
I didn't even
because
think
of
about
Jar
that.
Jar's presence. Like,
Yeah. If anything, you're rooting for the pit droid in that.
yeah, in that altercation. Go, pit droid!
And I'm pretty sure the pit droid got the last hit and it was a kick to the balls.
I mean,
If
yeah.
I remember correctly.
I see this as an absolute win. Like,
But yeah, that was my first thing that I wanted to talk about. Do you have any specific things on the Pelimoto like sequence?
well, like I liked. I pointed this out the first time I watched it, but like Pelimoto like believes in the Force. Like
Yeah.
she is like a believer, and she said it kind of religiously, like most of the, like you see some of the rebels doing in, you know, the original trilogy and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know, she sees, you know, the child and is like, you know, thank the Force, like, you know, thank God.
Yeah, and she kind of did look up and put her hands up.
Put her hands up a little bit. Like, it was like a thank God kind of moment, you know? And, so, like, I like that fact that they're, like, showing that, like, there are still people who even have heard tales or, like, have known people they trust talk about the Force and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to the point where it's devolved from where it was, like, in the Outer Rim in the Clone Wars era, like, it was a myth. The Force was still kind of a myth.
Right.
Like, nobody really saw a Jedi out there that often. So it was like a myth. But even in this time, like, it's devolved kind of into like a religion almost, like literally, like, you know, like the original trilogy's line is like, your sad devotion to those ancient teachings have not given you the clairvoyance enough to find the rebels' hidden base, you know. And then that guy gets choked out by Vader because he's talking crap, like, you know, I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you know, so there are people who legitimately believe in the Force and believe it controls, you know, the galaxy in some way, shape,
Right.
or form. Like,
Yeah, just think it's like a higher cause.
like a deity.
Those people, we were watching Alex and Molly from Star Wars Explained, but they also had 3 other people on that I think they said they were from the Resistance podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, I enjoyed a lot of what they said, and I think they helped provide some sort of insights, minor ones for me.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the stuff they were talking about, I didn't miss because I am the diehard Star Wars fan, just like you are. Like, for instance, you know, that one guy missed completely that right there at the end was Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Neither one of us missed that. Like, but
Well, I missed it the first time only because I was talking and looking away.
Yeah.
Because some people came in here and were like,
Right.
you know, talking.
Just distracted. But they were talking about one thing that they had saw where a fan said that they didn't like Pelimoto's acting, or I forgot, Amy Sedaris is the name of the actual woman, but they said that her acting wasn't up to par, and that it was like kind of like just a B-flick comedy type thing. And I was like, well, I mean,
Star Wars.
I was about to say, well, if it is, then
first
of all, it's not about Pelimoto, so like, who cares? We knew she was going to be all of what, maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes
at most. Like, she is definitely a background character.
But even so, like, she's never, like, while she may pop up, if this show goes 5 seasons, she may pop up in every season. And actually, I wouldn't doubt it. But will she even go on a mission? Will she be a vital part of Mando's team? I don't see it. Like,
just whenever they dock in Tatooine, they're going to see her. Like,
right. They might bump into her or something.
And,
like
have a little joke off, you know.
Yeah, and that's fine because, you know, aside from that little bit of interaction with Pelimoto, and it wasn't much of an interaction because mostly Mando's just a cold dude. He wasn't saying much. He was just listening.
Yeah.
But
info.
Yeah, when she was kind of just like hitting him with that was the only real comedic moment we got in this episode.
Yeah.
But there wasn't. It was a pretty serious episode for the most part. Aside from that.
I mean, unless you just like really dark humor. I kind of laughed when, you know, Gor Koresh was left to the wolves, so to speak. Like,
yeah.
I chuckled at that because that's kind of funny because, you know, like, you get what you deserve, flank.
I mean, I feel you. Are you ready to move on to the next thing? Because my next thing has to do with the transition. So.
Well, go ahead and say that because my next thing is to do with Cobb Band.
Okay. So, another thing that I really, really, really liked about this episode, and you guys should know as well as Matthew already knows, is I am a score head. I love score. Score from any of the movies that I like, even if they're not Star Wars movies. I just really enjoy score in general. And some of my favorite score from Chapter 9 was during the transition between like the whole Pelimoto hangar sequence and the Freetown where we meet Cobb Vanth, because it was a sample of the Mandalorian theme, but it also had just these kind of like almost travel type nomadic themes. I don't know how to really word it other than that, but that's what I was picking up on, and I just really enjoyed it. And I think when the series is done and all the score gets released on YouTube, and I go through a whole binge listen of all of the score the way I did with the first season, then I will most definitely be listening to that one more often than not.
He likes it a little bit too much, I think.
Yeah, I mean, dude, like, you and Dad love listening to some music, but, like, score just hits different for me. I don't know.
I mean, I like to, don't get me wrong, I like to listen to the score, but it's like, I like it as, like, a snack every now and then, and you like it as, like, the same way you like your Burger King meals, like, all the time, every day. Like,
yeah. So, hit me up with your Cobb Vanth moment.
Oh yeah, like I got a lot from Cobb Vanth because I think his character was like the most expounded upon in this episode. Like,
oh yeah. You know, we got a little origin story from him.
Oh yeah, like they took their time with Cobb Vanth because they were wanting to, you know, get some book fans, you know, a little a little too excited there, you know. But yeah, like I like just the whole first, like, before they end up, like, trying to take down the Krayt Dragon, just the whole, before they get with the Tuskens and all that stuff, like, that whole thing with him meeting Mando in the bar, them kind of having that standoff, them seeing the Krayt Dragon, and then, like, after that, even you get his kind of like origin, like the backstory of like
when they're on the way to his house. Or to his den.
Like Mos Pelgo, like you get the backstory, how he ended up getting the armor, all that kind of stuff. Just in that one area of show, think it only took about like 15.
It might have
10
been 10
minutes.
Yeah.
Like 10 minutes at the most to do all that. And we got so much in that just short little bit of time. I think that's great. The first thing that I thought was great out of that area was like how the camera worked. It focuses in when Cobb Vanth comes in and sits down. He takes off his helmet and puts it down, and it like zooms in on the helmet, like right in there. It's like, oh my gosh, he took off his helmet kind of thing to like let you know this ain't a real Mandalorian. Like, he ain't about the creed. Like, this ain't even a Mandalorian. He's just wearing the armor kind of thing. Like,
and what you were talking about, like the close up on the helmet is just before it backs out and actually lets you see the man who Cobb Vanth is.
Yeah.
So that was literally an indication for those of you who watch season 1 and who understand that the creed has changed now from the way it was in Clone Wars and in Rebels, where the Mandalorians could take off their helmets. Now they have gone into this, different devotion into their creed to where they're more private, I guess, for a lack of a better term.
More warrior-like and more strict. Yeah. And I get that. But also as well, like, when he's like having that standoff with
love that whole scene.
I love that whole scene because he's like, he's talking about like, I know Mandalorian's reputation and like, I know how good you all are at killing, like, and I'm thinking you might be leaving out of this bar with me dead on the floor and my armor on the back of your bike, like, But then I see the little guy pointing at the child, and he was like, and I think I maybe pegged you wrong. And then Mando just ends up going like, I'm still going to take it off of you. Like, like.
He was like, take it off.
or I will take it off of you for you. And like, he's like, whoa, you going to do this in front of a kid? Like, and he's seen worse. Like,
I love that line.
He's seen worse. Like, yeah, that is I've talked to some people like who have watched this as well, like that I know from like Clinton and stuff, and all that.
Yeah.
But like they haven't quite grasped the fact that until baby or the child, until he like is put with his own kind, whatever that ends up being.
Right.
Or until the child maybe could grow up and be strong enough for the training. We don't know about that. But, maybe not, since Yoda species, not very physical, but they are strong with the Force. But, and it's... What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, like, he was still, until the child is put with his own kind, he's a foundling. He's part of the Mandalorians. Like, he is a Mandoa.
Right. I wouldn't say he's a Mandalorian, but he's a foundling.
Well, he's a Mandalorian foundling, basically.
Right. Like, if he was in a group of Mandalorians, like, if from episode 3 in the first season,
he would be bottom rung, but yeah.
What? Oh yeah, of course, because he doesn't have any
rung.
training. But what I was gonna say is like, if he's in the room with Din Djarin when Din Djarin has the knife fight with Paz, if he's in the room at that point and anybody refers to him, they're going to call him the foundling.
Yeah.
Like, that would just be what they called him.
Yeah.
They wouldn't call him the young Mandalorian or whatever.
Yeah, the child.
Right.
Or anything like that. They would call him the foundling. And yeah, that is because they haven't been fully inducted yet. They are still a foundling, like.
Right.
And that's the thing about it, though, is like, yeah, technically Baby Yoda, or the child, is a foundling and will continue to be as long as he's with Mando.
Right. Yeah, I feel that. One of the big things I wanted to talk about the Cobb Vanth thing was whenever he did the little origin story that went into, how Freetown came to be, like what happened with the whole mining collective, and then after that, like how he attained the armor.
It's not called Freetown in the Mando.
Right,
So,
yeah, they didn't say that in The Mandalorian, but because I know from the books, like,
Yeah.
I'm taking it that it's called Freetown.
Or at least will become
Wait,
Freetown.
actually, I can check this right now. I can type in Freetown on Google, and if Freetown Star Wars will look up, and it's Wikipedia, somebody might have edited it already and added the Mandalorian to its appearances. Yep, it's
Well,
first,
I mean, it says Mos Pelgo at the top.
yeah, it does, but yeah.
Well, yeah, in the
formerly known as Freetown. So, well,
They
maybe,
changed it.
I was about to say, yeah, I guess that means that it was Freetown until it got recognized to be a place.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know.
I guess.
Who knows? How
I
it is.
mean,
Maybe they just
they
changed the
might-
name like you said.
Yeah, they might just like fit it back in, like, and it be Freetown at a later date, or like it was Freetown and
Right.
just had a very ironic name for a slave town.
Yikes.
Like, very, very
Well, it's because
ironic.
it was after the liberation. It was once he became Marshal. That's when he named it Freetown in the book.
Okay, yeah, well,
So, it was almost like, how about we do the antithesis of the whole situation?
yeah.
It's the opposite of slavery now.
Okay.
But, so, what I was going to say about that origin story, when he came back to the town with Boba Fett's armor, I was clamoring for the scene where there was just, and this is me being a scorehead again, but it was just this bizarre, eerie score when he was just standing there and kind of like tilted his head like in the bar whenever all the mining collective were in there and the Weequay was like just kind of serving them or whatever. And he just looked at all of them. One thing that I was screaming in my head like, yes, thank you, was just the solid whenever he looked at the Weequay and he was just like, get out of here.
Like, tilted his head.
Yeah, you better like get out of here
Like,
because it's
back
about to get
up.
messy.
It's about to get real messy.
Yeah,
Yeah, but like that is a good thing though. But like all that kind of the score too was like intimidation factor. Because how do you think those miners thought when they saw Mandalorian armor walk in that door? They don't know it's the Marshal that used to
Right.
be there. Like, they don't know it's the guy that escaped. Like,
Yeah.
they still don't know. He's got his helmet on. Like, they think that
That's a good point.
for all they know, this is a real Mandalorian, and they're probably crapping themselves. I mean, most of them did. Like,
they were
hop in
wearing
a-
their brown pants. It's fine, as
Yeah.
Deadpool says.
Yeah, and they were smart. They wore their brown pants. Like, yeah. But,
I know you love that reference.
yeah, I love that Deadpool joke. Like, I mean, but that's been a joke for a long time before Deadpool. But they got in a land speeder and started, like, driving away. And another part, one of the points I picked out about the flashback was, like, Boba Fett's missile backpack. He pulled out the viewfinder, got the target, and then just goes...
That was pretty awesome. I did
That
really
was
enjoy that.
that was
too.
great. Another thing I really liked, that was just a small detail that I personally like because it's something I would have done if I was Cobb Vanth. Like
Okay.
when the mining collective came into the bar and started like taking over. If you notice, he doesn't like jump out of his seat and just duck down onto the floor straight away. No, he acts like he got hit and kind of slumps backwards and falls down onto the ground. So they think he's dead, like, basically. I saw that. That was,
I didn't see that.
yeah,
so-
like, he falls backwards in that scene, and it almost looks like he got shot. Like, he was acting like he got shot, and then kind of slid on the floor away and met up with the bartender, and then dipped out the back door.
Huh.
Like,
I need to.
I guess
I've
that-
seen it 5 times now, and I didn't see.
oh,
notice
yeah,
that.
like, that was one thing that I was like, huh. That might actually be kind of smart. Now, I might just be putting that there, like,
Right.
in my own head. Like, maybe he didn't actually do that. But that's what I saw this time around. I didn't see it the first time, but I saw it this time around, and I was like, That's kind of smart, though, because, like, it gives him the extra few seconds to get out and get away, you know?
Right.
Like, at least until they walk around the bar and see that he's not dead, you know?
True. Another thing I kind of wanted to talk about was I really enjoyed the parallel between the Tuscans and Native Americans and comparing like Mando to kind of like the early Americans, like how the whole time he's been doing, or like the early settlers over here, because he's been basically using like American Sign Language, like, or Outer Rim like sign language.
Well, that's Tuscan Sign Language,
right.
basically.
I mean, if it
but
is.
like, yeah. Well, back on that point though, like to go to that point, it's like the Tuscans, this show in general, and also especially in this episode, like get another side to them, because from what we've seen before Mandalorian, like we haven't seen the Tuscan side of anything except for maybe in some Legends comic books, like
right.
with the Darth Krayt storyline, because like he was
Tusken Raider.
a Tusken Raider by birth, like, but yeah, it kind of shows another side of the Sand People. They're not just savages, they have honor, they have their own system of beliefs, but as well as like that, like like you said, bringing up like the Native Americans kind of thing. The reason why they're so pissed is because like they're the natives. They
right.
were there first, and like other alien settlers came in, took over.
Yeah,
I think in Legends it was like
the first. Said it was the Rakata.
Well, yeah, they're the ones that turned it into a desert.
Yeah.
Afterwards, like they're the ones that turned it into a desert. But, in Legends, the first people, like aliens outside of the natives, other than the Rakata, to actually settle it, were like, mining companies and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
And stuff like that. Like, some big ass corporations, and they probably just went through and just started picking them off. Like,
Yeah.
So.
A comment I wanted to make about the Tuscans too, that I already made to you before we started recording, was that because of the whole electro binocular thing, like whenever they're like staking out and they send somebody down to go look, at the Krayt Dragon Den, pretty much, they're using the electro binoculars, and that on the whole thing that I was talking about earlier with the Resistance podcast and with Alex and Molly from Star Wars Explained. They had brought up the point that some fan, I believe, brought up that since they have electro binoculars, that they could be the same exact Tusken Raider tribe from episode 5 of season 1.
Yeah.
But you were like, nah.
Yeah, because
you can definitely have electro binoculars and not be the same one.
Yeah, it's such a common item in the world of Star Wars, though, that I wouldn't be surprised, Now, you could make the argument, but they look kind of brand new. And I mean, there's probably a crap ton of ones that they could get brand new right there. Like, they could probably just see somebody riding along, kill them, take their binoculars. It's fine. Like, like, nobody's going to find your body in the desert. But, but yeah, like, that is one of those pieces that I'm just like, could be, probably not, though, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Another thing that I really liked about the Tuskens and stuff is the Tusken Slogs. Some Tusken Slog action.
The Massives?
Yeah, the dogs. The good old dogs. And, like, I really even especially like the scene where, like, Mando just, like, speaks literal Tusken, like speaks the cool. Tusken language to calm down these masses, like, and then they're just like, after he like talks to him for a couple of seconds, like they're just like, like little puppies basically to him, and like he's petting them and stuff, and that's kind of funny. And then also, like, I thought it was kind of like, when the child is like sitting there and the dog's like licking his lips, looking at him, and maybe
like, don't eat me.
Don't eat me, please. No, don't kill me. I'm too weak.
Yikes. Damn. The next thing I wrote down has to do with score again. I liked the score when the Tuskens were moving. Once they all like agreed to work together and stuff, and like
made that pact.
Yeah, made that pact, and they were all moving together from Mos Pelgo to the den. Once they all teamed up and a really well equipped the Banthas with the detonators and the explosives and stuff,
and also the like turret things.
Yeah, the catapults.
Yeah, well, more like trebuchet. Like the spear shooter things. Ballistas. That's what they're called.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, like whenever they were like riding there, and it was showing multiple scenes of the whole desert landscape, and that whole deal, I really, really enjoyed the score and how it really complemented what was visually on the screen, and how that tied into. I want to say that one made me feel more Egyptian vibes. Like I was getting almost kind of, I don't know, like it really did feel very African influenced, I want to say. Just like kind of more broadly.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, it does remind me of some of those like scores from like movies like, like those Temple Raider movies and kind of stuff like that where like, you go into the pyramid and like end up screwing up the whole world because you touched a sarcophagus. Like I'm looking at you, anthropologists or whatever they're called, archaeologists. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, I got a funny thing to tell you after.
Well, so I'm out of notes. So
I have a few more.
Well,
like,
you gotta speed it.
Okay, I'm taking over.
Well, gas it.
All right. Yeah, but like back to what I was saying, like the honor pact with Mos Pelgo, like was basically like a non-aggression pact. Like if you help us. And we work together on this, and you leave us the like carcass and the ichor, of like basically the remnants of the crate dragon, like all of it, basically.
Yeah.
Like then, they will not raise their blasters against Mos Pelgo until Mos Pelgo's people breaks the peace. Like,
right.
So that's like we won't fire on y'all unless y'all fire on us first. That's it. Like, done and done.
And I think they're good for their word.
Oh, yeah. Well, according to Mando, they are. And I trust Mando. Like,
right.
That's the thing. Like, also, like, the whole thing in general, the whole episode, felt like a video game to me.
Yeah.
Like, it felt really video gamey. Kind of like you got the big story quest. Then you went on to one planet. That guy said go to Tatooine, you go to Tatooine, and then you get wrapped up in a whole side quest that you have to do before you can even progress the main quest. Like, so it's...
Well, speaking of the main quest, like, what did you think about how they fought the Krayt Dragon? The methods they used, did they make sense? And last night, when we were watching that other podcast, they made that mention of it was just like a mission from a Legends.
Yeah, KOTOR. Knights of the Old Republic.
Gotcha.
One of the missions on Tatooine is actually a side mission too. Like, it's not something you have to do, but it's a good high reward thing.
Right.
That you go in and you basically are using a bantha to lure out a crate dragon out of its cave, and then you're using explosives to blow it up. And as a reward for that, you get a crate dragon pearl. And that's the big pearl you see at the end. The Tuskens are like,
all of which happens in this.
Like, so it's literally taken straight out of the game, basically. But not exactly, because there's a lot of different characters involved and stuff, But, and it's like, I even had that down on my list to talk about that, too. Like, so I'm glad you brought it up. But, but like when I saw that though, I was like, okay, well, when I first saw it though, I was like, okay, I get it. They're all going to gather around. They're going to blow it up. Like it's a big team effort kind of thing. But how does that make Mando, my boy, the main character, look good? How does that make him look good if all he did was sit in the back, like,
right,
and did nothing?
Yeah.
So I was kind of happy when the first attempt at blowing him up didn't quite work. Like,
right.
you know, it injured him a little bit, but didn't quite, like, kill him.
Yeah.
You know, so they had no. Yeah, it just pissed him off, basically. And they had to fly up there in their jetpacks and stuff.
That
and,
whole sequence with the jetpacks looked so good, and it was epic.
Oh, yeah, it was epic. It was great editing, all that kind of stuff is great. And, like, how the crate dragon could, like, spit acid out of its mouth and, like, its stomach acid or whatever would, like, dissolve people on the spot. Like,
holy crap, dude.
Wow. Like, that was excellent because that was just nutty. I love seeing that on the big screen. You know, or, well, not the big screen.
This is a pretty big screen.
I mean, technically, yeah, big for TVs, but not the silver screen. You know what I mean. But you know, that was, like, really cool. But, so I was happy when the original plan kind of fails, and then Mando is like, well, you know what? Like, gets Cobb Vanth out of the way and says, all right, well, I guess I'm going to have to go, like, badass on it by myself. Like, let's go. And then he ends up killing it by himself. He didn't need anybody else.
Right.
He could have done it himself. That's what I like about it, is because he was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to need help, da-da-da-da-da. That man didn't need no help. He could have done that thing himself. He just trying to be humble, like...
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, like, all of them were used for distractions as well as, you know, it was a group effort, indeed.
Yeah, I get you. And carrying all that stuff would have been a bitch by yourself.
Oh, definitely.
Like, you know.
Another thing I wanted to point out when we got to the Crate Dragon scene was Mando told Gor Koresh that he didn't gamble, but he basically gambled with his life. Because there was no good reason why he couldn't have, you know, as soon as he saw it come up out of the ground and the mouth get wide, since there was such a near miss when they were, like, up on the, like, cave and it, like, or up on, they were up on top of the rock and, like, it tried to bite them. Like, Cobb Vanth barely went under the mouth or something. Like, they were super close. And Mando didn't even make an attempt to, like, get out of the way after it was already coming down. And we know banthas don't move that fast. If Mando really wanted to get out of the way,
he could have.
He could have.
Maybe.
They just wanted to make it, like, so
like
dramatic.
A suspense kind of thing.
Is Mando dead? No way.
Like, on season 1 of episode 1 of season 2, like, when we said we're probably going to do 3 or more, like, the main character dies? Like, what? Like, even though there's 7 more episodes to the season that we've already said coming out, like...
Exactly.
Yeah, really? Like... But, like, the last thing I have on this is the Boba Fett scene.
Okay. Yeah, and I even forgot to write that down.
Yeah, the Boba Fett.
So
it's like he's decked out. But he's not decked out in, like, real big equipment or anything. The blaster rifle and the gaffy stick on his back and the robes he's wearing. That's all, like, Tusken stuff, basically. Yeah. Like, that's a big Tusken vibe. So, like, you said maybe, like, he's, like, hooked up with a clan or something, like, or a tribe or something like that, and it's kind of like a honorary member, maybe, because he helped him out or something like that, or whatever it is. I just think it's cool that you still got Boba Fett coming in. And
well, see, let me throw you a curveball. Let me throw you a curveball. So, Captain Rex was in episode 6, like now.
Yeah, I know.
And so they said that Rex was going to appear in The Mandalorian. That could be Rex. Yeah. Because Tamara Morrison is going to be playing Boba Fett and Rex.
Well, yeah, because they're both clones of the same guy.
So it can be Rex.
But, I mean, he would have to look a lot older.
He did kind of look grizzled, but you can't tell how old because he had no hair. He didn't have facial hair, and he didn't have... Or he had a little bit of stubble and had no hair, like bald.
Yeah, but, like, at the same time, like, if it's on Tatooine and, like, he'd been living there, it's probably Boba.
So let me ask you a question about this specific part. So, two-part question. So, first part, do you think Boba will be in the very next episode? And B, do you think that Mando will stick, since the last scene we got was him basically riding off into the sunset, do you think he'll still be on Tatooine at the very beginning of the second episode, or do you think he'll either be in a ship or somewhere else? They'll just kind of wake up somewhere else.
I mean, I think they might start it out briefly on Tatooine. You know? Like, I'm leaning more towards, you know, them briefly being on Tatooine for the start of episode 2. But at the same time, I might be wrong. They might have a whole nother arc, like a whole nother like storyline on Tatooine to do before they do leave. Like,
I got
you know, they could just want to get the Boba Fett stuff out of the way right up front, like, you know, and just be like, oh yeah, Tatooine, yeah, remember Boba Fett, remember Chewbacca,
Yikes.
remember. Like,
Please
yeah.
don't do that again. Yikes. We almost made it 45 minutes without some cancer, but Matt had to inject the cancer into it for us.
From South Park, the member.
Yikes, please don't.
Yikes.
So, all in all, I got 2 more questions for you before we wrap this up.
All right.
First question, and probably the more important question, is what is the one thing that you want in the next episode that you did not get in this episode? Not something you didn't get enough of, something you did not get at all. And then 2, what's your overall rating of this episode? 1 through 10, half and whole points.
Well, something that wasn't in this episode that I would have liked to see.
No, that you really want in the next episode.
In the next episode. I don't know if it could be in the next episode,
well,
but
just
it might.
like what you want.
Space
if it's
battles,
your
bro.
way. Okay.
Space battles. You know?
So a little
like,
dogfight or something.
Yeah, like some space battle action. Because, like, I love space battles. You do too. Like,
Yeah.
You know, space battles are always good.
Well, I think it's very plausible if what happens, what you were saying, if the next episode is him, like, leaving Tatooine pretty much, like you said, just quickly, like, you know, oh, we're on Tatooine, but we're actually saying bye to Peli and getting back on the Razor Crest. He leaves and someone tracks him out of the starport, like, he could be...
And it's Boba Fett.
Yikes. No way. Absolutely no way. I would be, like, ridiculous. I don't even know what my reaction would be. That's why I'm at a loss for words in this moment.
Yeah,
if he was fully decked out with, like, ship and it showed you inside the cockpit and he's got, like, armor on, regardless of whether it was Mandalorian or not, I'd be like, whoa, oh my god, like having the biggest nerdgasm ever.
Yeah. Like,
for me,
Slave
though,
1 comes up over the horizon.
For me, though, yeah, I would definitely flip if that happened. For me, the thing that I need is represented right here. I need some Moff Gideon. Like, bring the Moff. Please bring the Moff. We need the Moff because...
We need to find out Moff Gideon.
They were rumoring that episode 2 was going to be called The Confrontation. And if it is, in fact, called... They were wrong about what they said the first episode was going to be called. So it's not that reliable, and I'm not thinking it's actually going to be called The Confrontation. Because they said the first episode would be The Search, but it was actually The Marshal.
Yeah.
So,
because they decided to put Cobb Van.
Right. I'm not going to hang my hat on it, but I really want Moff because I know before the end of the season's over, he's going to have a confrontation with Din Djarin, and if they fight, all I'm saying is he better not use the Darksaber to cut that disintegrator rifle in half. Because if he does that, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be irate. I love that. It's basically the Swiss Army knife of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Being able to do all it can.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, it's a great rifle. And it looks custom made, too. Like,
yeah.
It doesn't look like something he bought as is. It looks like he made it himself, like getting pieces here and there and, like, actually building a type nice weapon. Like.
Right. For me, all in all, I enjoyed this episode. I said on Instagram that this was exactly what I would have wanted from a season premiere episode. So for me, it can't really get too much better than this. The only way this episode could have been better if Ahsoka would have been in it. But if it meant that Ahsoka was only going to be in one episode, then I wouldn't want it to be this episode because then there would be too much, and we'd run into the same kind
Yeah,
of
that's
dilemma
what I
that
was
people
thinking.
complain about Amazing Spider-Man 3, or not Amazing Spider-Man 3, but Spider-Man 3 with like Venom, Sandman, and jeez, who am I forgetting? Venom, Sandman, and New Goblin.
Yeah,
All being in the same movie and it being convoluted and stuff.
Oh,
But
yeah.
for me, the rating on
New
this,
Goblin kind of switches.
I'm hitting it. Yeah, I'm hitting this with sweet spot. This is an 8.5 episode for me.
I think that's appropriate, but I would personally put it at like an 8 for
An
me.
8? Okay.
Like an 8 for me because like while it is a great episode, no doubt about it, like great episode, I think they could have done more in the terms of like showmanship, at least, you know? And what I mean by that is like a little bit of just like,
Fan service?
not fan service, more like just, what's the word for it?
Flashy?
Not flashy. No, because that turns into garish, like, you know, that makes it look weird. I mean, like, kind of like, I don't want to say flexing, but like, it basically is. Like, so like, Mando being like,
You just
not
wanted to see
saying
bravado. You just wanted to see macho man. You wanted to see badass, like, I'm the shit type energy.
a little bit more, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say a little bit. Not a lot of bit more. I'm not saying turn this crap into like an action movie.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like one of them Vin Diesel craps or something like that.
I'm
like,
good on that.
Yeah, I'm good on that too. Like, if I want to watch that, I'll go home and watch that. Like, but nah, when I'm in Star, I want just a pepper of it. You know, just like